Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to show up in Superman. In this video, I'm going to tackle how I think they're going to handle this and why I think they might do this, because everything that we've heard so far doesn't make sense to me. And with recent evidence of James Gunn and Matt Reeves working together, I think there's a lot more here than not. So let's get into it. Okay, so for this, we gotta rewind it back all the way to the formation of DC Studios. So well over 2 years now, James Gunn and Peter Safran held a little press conference, if you can even call it that, in a room with a few journalists, and what they did was sit there and announce that the formation of the DC Universe and a DC Studios label was officially happening. James Gunn and Peter Safran then confirmed that this would be a studio within WB that deals with everything DC, and that they, of course, were co-CEOs, and James Gunn would, of course, be rebooting Superman with, at the time, Superman Legacy and other projects that were announced, from a Swamp Thing to Supergirl to, of course, a brand new Batman project called Batman Brave and the Bold. And all we knew was that the Bat family would be in it, and the story would center around Batman and his son, Damian Wayne. And the idea here was to start from scratch. Now, James Gunn did, of course, confirm that some things would remain in continuity. Peacemaker, which was getting a season 2, would be allowed and grandfathered in. The Suicide Squad, select events of that happened, and they were just going to treat it as a loose canon while moving forward with this universe. Everybody pretty much understood what they were saying. And at the same time, there was a lot of questions in regards to what is going on with Matt Reeves' The Batman, because at that time, we were already 2+ years removed from the film with no updates. And that's where Matt Reeves comes in with The Batman Part 2 and conflicting messages. So one of the first things we learned right out the gate was that the DC Studios brand would have the DC Universe, but also they would have the Elseworld branding. And the Elseworld branding would consist of films and TV shows not part of the main continuity, such as multiple cartoons on HBO, but also the upcoming, or at the time upcoming, Joker Folie à Deux and The Batman Part 2. Now, they were still very loose on talking about Batman in any way, shape, or form in regards to his future in either universe. Sometimes they would say some things. Sometimes they said nothing and made it seem like that there was no development on either version, either Brave and the Bold or Part 2. And then reports and rumors started to hit that James Gunn and Peter wanted to try to figure out how to make Robert Pattinson's Batman a part of the bigger universe. But there was also conflicting reports. So when we look at the Batman Part 1, we know that the film is obviously followed up with Penguin Season 1. Now, Penguin Season 1 ends perfectly leading into Batman Part 2. And the Batman Part 2 is still years away. As of the making of this video, it's set for October of 27. Now, of course, this places it a couple months before Avengers Doomsday, and most people believe it's not going to happen because there just isn't enough time for Matt Reeves, especially with the fact that he hasn't completed a script. James Gunn hasn't even seen a completed script, which again brings up a lot of questions, mainly Clayface. So if you guys kept up with the reports, Matt Reeves leaned into and seemed to indicate that they wanted to go a little bit more comic booky and fantastical, and Clayface was brought up multiple times, and even Matt Reeves and people working on Penguin leaned into possibly doing Clayface. Lo and behold, we get an announcement of a Clayface film. Okay, but that's happening from DC Studios. Now, what else is interesting here is that Clayface was cast by James Gunn and Matt Reeves. They both confirmed this. They were both testing actors to play Clayface, and the actor they landed on, they both agreed would be the best possible choice. So why is Matt Reeves helping cast a villain in the DC Universe for James Gunn? Which then reminds me of how the Batman Arkham and Gotham PD series were being developed for the Batverse, or Matt Reeves' universe, up until they were swapped into the DCU. So in case you guys have forgotten, it wasn't too long ago that when they announced Penguin, we know that at least 3 other TV series were in development. Alongside Penguin, there was a Gotham PD series focusing on, obviously, the Gotham City Police Department. There was also a Arkham Asylum TV series, and there was a 3rd series that we never really had confirmed what it was. Some loose details on it, but nothing concrete, so we're not even going to focus on that. And what happened was that both series, Gotham PD and Arkham, were canceled. But then James Gunn confirmed that no, they weren't. He publicly stated that the Gotham series was still in development, but instead of being set in Matt Reeves' universe, Matt Reeves and co. instead decided to make that series a part of the DCU, aka the DC universe that James Gunn and Peter Safran are running, that also takes place within the confines of the brand new universe that's kicking off with the live-action Superman. So then you really got to take a step back and look at everything that's going on and how this all sort of connects to one another. So to start, DC Studios announces Batman Brave and the Bold, but they won't provide any more details on it, and we don't know when it's coming out. They said it would be years after Matt Reeves puts out the Batman Part 2, as they don't want competing projects. Then the Batman Part 2 ends up in indefinite limbo with nothing happening. Absolutely no development for years. And then Matt Reeves is on hand to cast Clayface, who's rumored to be featured in the Batman Part 2. But why is he casting for James Gunn's universe? And top it all off, the fact that for 2 years now, we've known that Matt Reeves is working with James Gunn to develop TV series set in the DC universe that started off as the Batman spin-off projects. So here's where I'm proposing my theory. The Batman will show up, played by Robert Pattinson, in Superman, or he will be mentioned, and they will establish that connection. Now, people are going to expect me to kind of lay out an entire scenario of how I would do this, and I'm actually working on that video separately. It's going to be like 15-ish minutes long as of right now, so just wait for that, but I kind of explain how I would make it work. But what I'm saying is that the Batman Part 2 will happen and be part of the DCU, and the Batman Part 3 will be Batman Brave and the Bold. So here's what I'm saying. Instead of waiting for Matt Reeves to take another 2 years, and then they start their own Batman up and don't have a Batman out till possibly at the earliest, the end of this decade, another 5 years of not introducing a Batman while Superman is out there, possibly even gets a sequel, it doesn't make sense to me. So if we look at the bigger picture, I think the Batman Part 3 will actually just be Brave and the Bold. And what they can do is just age it up and use that excuse that James Gunn has, which is loose canon. You know, they just apply that to it, and you don't have to strictly stick to something that you are 100%, beholden to. This also takes pressure off of Matt Reeves, and it takes pressure off of James Gunn having to make sure that they can balance out 2 different Batmen. And to make things even more interesting, James Gunn just recently said he will not be pushing for a campy, comedic Batman. He's interested in a serious Batman as well. Wouldn't that be Robert Pattinson's Batman? So this is just a theory I've been working on. I'm just kind of looking at things that they're saying. Do I personally believe that this could happen? I think there's like a 30% chance, maybe not even that. But I'm going to lay it out here in this video on how I think that something could be happening. So again, don't take it as a fact. I'm not going to sell it as a fact to you like many other channels do with their theories and whatever. I'm pitching this as a theory that I think has a small percentage chance of happening. Hopefully you can understand that. But I do personally feel like something is going on here, and I think that they're just buying time. They're waiting, and they're going to announce something. Because it seems like there's just too much going on and too much crossover and very little official wording. It wouldn't surprise me if this is their big sort of announcement. It happens at the end of Superman. People get buzzing. San Diego Comic-Con 2 weeks later. Perfect opportunity to come out and say, hey, guys, yeah. And do you guys remember what James Gunn recently said? Do you guys remember what he stated in an interview in relation to the next Superman film? He said, it's not a straight-up Superman film, and it's looking like it's a team-up. So I suppose this is the final piece of the puzzle in this video, and that's the team-up. Just recently, James Gunn was on hand to talk about what the next project he's working on, and he did say it involves Superman, but it's not Superman 2. It's not a direct sequel. When they continued to ask him questions, he was not committal to confirming what it was, but he leaned into the fact that this is more than likely going to be a team-up, but he wouldn't reveal any other news. So as I said in the previous section, imagine you get to go watch Superman. The post-credit scene is maybe, I don't know, Clark is called to investigate a report on something in Gotham. There's our Easter egg, right? And then at San Diego Comic-Con, they can announce Batman and Superman, World's Finest. And it's going to unite these two universes, but it happens after the Batman Part 2. And what they can essentially do is shoot Batman Part 2, and then shoot World's Finest after that, which is essentially a Superman sequel. Release them in quick succession, maybe a year and a half, 2 years between them, so they're not wasting too much time, and we're already getting used to Robert Pattinson's Batman being in that, while Part 2 goes a little bit more fantastical. And, of course, I didn't mention it before, I probably should have, if Matt Reeves is involved in the casting process of Clayface, wouldn't it make sense that next year when you go watch Clayface, the third act ends with Pattinson's Batman showing up to take care of the villain? I'm just trying to connect the dots here, guys. And I think I'm onto something. Maybe I'm just super fantasy booking because I really want this to happen. But a part of me feels like that this could all be true. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit longer. I know people are like, oh, 3-4 minute videos. We don't like those. Make longer videos. And then people are like, okay, 7, 8, 9 minutes, fine. Some people really like when I get closer to 15. It is what it is. Videos are going to keep being different lengths, but I had a lot to say here. And I'm hoping it plays out exactly how I laid it out, because it would be pretty awesome to see Pattinson rolled into that universe and how they could make his universe a little bit more fantastical after being so grounded. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.